I'm Mike Benton for ThunderVision. The names keep coming back. Earlier today, a sixth returning player for the Stockton Thunder re-upped for the 2011 and 12 season, that being defenseman Jody Pederson, and the man who signed him joins us now in Thunder head coach Matt Thomas. Matt, following a trade to get Pederson from Elmira last season, the Worcester Sharks signed him to a two-way contract. So what do your feelings have in common with what Worcester perhaps saw in him in the middle of last season?
Well, actually, at the time we made that trade, it was for Garrett Zemlak. We had 3 goalies on our roster, which quickly shrunk to 1. But we were in need of a defenseman. Anthony Aiello had been up in the American Hockey League. Ryan Constant was injured, and we were really light on the left side. And talking with San Jose, they had real good things to say about Jody. He was a guy that they brought up and was doing real well for them in an earlier stint in the American Hockey League. So obviously when you're trying to make deals, you're trying to do as much homework on guys. And, all the things that they said that he was were really true. And when we got him here, it was a little bit of a unique situation for him. He was in Vegas on a road trip with Elmira, so he really never felt probably settled for the first bit there, but he went up and down a bunch of times. But a guy who's got a lot of potential. Obviously, Worcester saw a lot in him and used him quite a bit up there and used him in a lot of different situations and had a lot of success with him in those situations. So it was a natural fit for us. I think for him coming back this year, really excited for him to build on what he did in his first year. Obviously, he knows what he needs to do to be a guy to play in the American Hockey League, and he's really looking forward to getting off on the right foot this season here in Stockton.
With Ryan Constant moving on and the team in transition, as we have talked about much during this summer, how critical is his development?
Well, it's huge. All the guys, we've got a lot of second-year defensemen back right now from last year's team, as well as a couple of guys up front. And I think when you're looking at your guys that were first-year players last year, you really hope that they take that experience and really leapfrog their development or kind of not leapfrog it, but really speed up the process. And I think for those guys, especially when you're a smart hockey player and you're a committed guy, and Jody's certainly that. He thinks the game real well, and he's very committed off ice to get to where he wants to go. So he's a guy who I think is going to put everything into play this offseason, getting himself ready. I think he knows some areas that he can improve on, and I think he's going to focus on that. But he's a guy who I think his potential lends him to be a very safe two-way player. He's big, he's tough to get around defensively. He's got a real good stick. He gets in the way a lot out there, and I think when he's got that wingspan, he can really shut down plays quickly. And I think his best asset is probably his puck moving ability and his ability to make quick plays and to really kind of start our transition in a quick manner, coming out of our end and neutral ice, and then his work on the blue line. He's got I think the one thing that Worcester really liked in Jody last year was his ability to get the puck to the net from the blue line, where it's always getting to the net, and that's sometimes an underrated skill for guys. A guy might have a big shot, but if it never gets to the net, it doesn't really do much. And Jody's a guy he's got some weight to his shot, and he's a guy that can get it there. So it always adds a lot of confusion around the net, and it looks for tips, rebounds, and from an offensive standpoint, players really like defensemen that can get the puck there, and Jody's got a good skill, but he's really got to focus on starting out and being a guy that we can count on to get points. I think he's got it in him. He wants to be that type of defenseman, and I think his development will allow him to get there.
Obviously, coaches don't like to label players early on in their development. He's got 1 year under his belt. But with that being said, with some time now in the Thunder's system, does it make more sense to pair him with a good puck mover, a stay-at-home D guy, or even put him with a newcomer defenseman who is still kind of learning the ropes, so to speak, right now at the pro level?
Well, I think the one thing that jumps out off the page to me right away when I'm thinking about Jody is he can be in any one of those situations. And I think that's what makes him so valuable. I think he's a guy that can play with a guy that can really jump up in the play and that really likes to go. And I think he's a guy that can play with more of a stay-at-home guy and allows him to go a little bit more. So he'll certainly be a guy that I use in tons of different scenarios with different people. I think his game's a calm game. It's a controlled game. I think more than anything, he can allow the players around him. He's very predictable for his teammates, which doesn't mean he's a predictable player. It means that he's easy to play with, and I think guys know where he's going to move the puck. He communicates well out there, and he's a type of guy that I think makes guys around him better, and I think you're always looking for your players to be able to do that.
Matt, well spoken again.
Thanks, Spence.
Thunder head coach Matt Thomas joining us. The 6 players are now back from last year's 2010 and 11 club. Stay tuned here for breaking news at StocktonThunder.com. I'm Mike Benton for ThunderVision.